Greetings everybody, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here today to do another episode of the Other Prog War, which is going to feature two bands. But before we get going on that particular item, I just wanted to talk about this new computer system that I turned on. It took me a while to figure out how to operate it. A long while, actually. Actually, in fairness, I haven't even tried for the last 4 months because I've been so busy. But I decided today, since my other one is kind of fritzing out a lot, I decided it's time to upgrade to this system and give you guys a better view and a better audio. I think this computer is vastly superior, and I'm hoping that it will add a lot to this system. So I hope you will bear with me while we get moving on it. I'm going to try and marginalize it all the way to the edges of the computers. That might work, and there it goes. So we're good. I just don't want to see any odd pieces sticking out at the bottom here either. Okay, there we go. Now, it's a bit wobbly because I haven't figured out a table setup for it yet, so that will take a little bit of thought. I think I have an idea of how I want to go about it, but at this point in time, we're just trying to make the video because it needs to come out tomorrow. So the video we're going to be doing today is from the series, The Other Prog Band. This is episode number 5 on day 5, battle number 5, I guess. It's all 5s around anyways. The two bands in question today, and I'm probably going to screw up this. One of them is an Italian band. The other one, I believe, is Ukrainian. So we have a Ukrainian progressive rock band, but actually I think they're more avant-garde than they are progressive. And then you also have a progressive Italian band. I believe they are Italian. Don't know 100%. So the two bands in question here are Semiramis, and their album is Dedicto slash a Frase, Dedicto a Frase, released in 1973, and I do apologize, I do not know what label they were on. I couldn't find any information on it. The other band is called Karfagen, or Karfagen, I think it is. It's Karfagen, or Karfagen, sorry. So Karfagen, and the album is Lost Symphony, released in 2011, and they're a Ukrainian band, as I said. So we'll start with the Semiramis, which I thought was a pretty interesting album. Lots of great instrumentation on this album. I think this band, very, very skilled musicians on this album. The vocalist is really good. I think he's got a very clear sounding mid to upper range voice. Articulates very well. His singing is bordering on operatic, I think. My only problem with it, of course, is that it's in Italian, so I don't know what he's saying or what he's singing. That is always a big I don't know if it's a big, but it's a bit of a negative for me. I tend to like to understand what they're saying so I can follow along. That's the way I am with my music. I'm not just listening to the music. I'm listening to the words. The whole thing is the whole thing for me. And so maybe my Italian will improve enough so I know what's going on. But it's a good challenge, and I accept it. So the other key parts of this, the keys are really good in this, and they're not too overbearing like the keyboard instruments. He does use some synthesizers as well. They're less overbearing than the keys. So to me, when I don't feel dominated by keyboards or synthesizers, I don't mind it when they're soloing or the part that they're playing requires a lot of that. It's when other people are playing their instruments and you can't make out a lot of what they're doing because the keyboards are so forward. That's my biggest issue with some of these bands. These guys, I don't have that issue with at all. The guitar soloing was really strong, I thought. at different points, and he's really good at using various different types of guitars as well. There's a little bit of flamenco guitar on this particular album, which I thought he did very well, or she. I'm not even sure if it's a male or female, to be honest. He does use the acoustic guitar quite a bit as well. And then when he does get into the more rocking, heavy guitar, he's really good with the riffing and excellent with the soloing as well. So I think the guitar player is one of the more dominant characters here. The drummer is also very frontal. Those two tend to be the most frontal of the instrumentation on this. Although there are periods of time where there's some strong bass playing on this album as well. What else can I say about it? I think the songs are pretty structured well. The musicality of the songs, anyways, are very very well orchestrated. I think the vocals fit very well in with it. I just can't tell you whether the lyrics are good or I really particularly enjoy that aspect. I think this is one of those albums that I've talked about this earlier in the series that needs me to listen to it. Oh, I got something growing there, I think. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm just not used to seeing myself so well. The screen is so much better. Anyways, yeah. So I'm not... I think this is one of those albums that the more I play it, the more it would grow on me. There's a lot of kind of intricacies with the music here that I think are very interesting and would like to hear. The album cover is a little odd. It's got a guy on the cover and it's a little bit bizarre. You'd have to see it. It's a person's face, but it's very very hard to ignore. I think it's just it's a pretty solid one. Sorry, I'm not quite used yet to where the camera lens is, so I'm trying to look at my face on the camera instead of at the lens, the eyepiece. So you'll forgive me if I tend to do that a little bit more until I get used to it. Okay, so yeah, it's a pretty strong, for me, a pretty strong progressive album with a lot of kind of, I might want to call it folky type parts to it, the flamenco and that. Flamenco, maybe some Caribbean style to it. I don't think it's Caribbean. I don't know what you would call it, but very interesting album. The album it's going against today, which is Karfagen, Lost Symphony, 2011 album. The album cover almost has a medieval look to it. It's almost, when I'm looking at it, I'm almost feeling like I'm watching Pinocchio. That's what I get. It looks a little bit wooden, I guess is the best way to put it. But the album itself is a little bit medieval, kind of, definitely a medieval type album cover. There's some heavy drums and guitar interaction, especially at the beginning of this album. Quite a bit of that. I think it's a concept album, even though it's entirely an instrumental album. There is no vocals on it. That's going to hurt it a bit with me, but it's well put together. At points, though, I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. So some of the intricate use of the several types of instruments they use, there's a fair bit of wood and brass instruments, I think, on this album without going and looking and see what the instrumental list is. There's a lot of that, and they like to weave it in with each other. I think that's very well done. The album has an almost medieval sound to it, which is good because it matches the album cover. I sense that. And there's parts where it's very kind of pastoral. You feel like you're out in the country. A real feel to it like that. I thought the acoustic guitar parts were really good with that percussion bits that kind of support it. I thought that was really good too. And they do tend to use the acoustic instruments and then add, towards the end of the album, there was quite a bit of electric instruments, guitar, keyboard parts that I thought really boosted up the sound quite a bit on this album. And if I have any negatives about this particular album, and now I'm going to get to those parts, is that because there's no lyrics, it's sometimes hard to follow. Whenever you have albums that are solely instrumental, it's sometimes hard to follow the storyline, especially if there's no words, because then you don't really know. There are albums that are exceptions to this, and most of them are jazz fusion albums. This, I don't think of this as a jazz fusion album at all. It's definitely, it might be a little folky, a little bit classical with some rock elements to it. My biggest issue, of course, with the album is that because it doesn't have vocals or written lyrics, and the songs tend to go from song to song, it feels somewhat meandering. It feels like it's meandering at times, like it's just people playing music for the sake of playing music, and it's not really going anywhere, have any finish to it. That's just my impression. Maybe again, because it's different than stuff I've listened to and it has no lyrics, maybe after listening to it for a while, I might feel the same. I kind of felt, and to give you an example, I kind of felt this way a little bit about Ozric Tentacles too when I first listened to their album. I did like their stuff quite a bit, but at times I couldn't follow where they were going because there's no lyrics or vocals, and it left me feeling a little bit like it was meandering a bit. And meandering isn't necessarily bad. Some people love that. They love the way it just kind of goes from place to place, and there's no real story. No lyrics, so there's no real story to it. And that's just my opinion. So based on those two assessments of these albums and having listened to both of them, they were both very clear as well. The clarity, and that might be because of the computer that I'm on now. This computer has excellent sound and audio sound to it. And that may be a byproduct. Their two albums may have accessed a byproduct of the computer, which means some of the other albums I have, if they're not quite up to snuff, will sound a little bit murky because of my old computer. But at any rate, I thought this was very well. They were both pretty well done. Lots of great instrumentation. I found the Semiramis, is that what I'm saying? Yeah. Semiramis album. I thought the instrumentation was a little bit more forward and in some cases a lot better in certain areas. But neither one of these is lacking in quality musicianship. Just very good. So, but anyways, I had to choose one, and by a slim margin, I'm going to give it to the Semiramis, even though the other one was quite good. I decided on it because there was some vocals in it. It did give it a little bit more structure for me. I tend to go more with vocalized albums than I do with non-vocalized. And that's not to say that I won't go with non-vocalized, but they have to be a little bit different than maybe this one was. So Semiramis will move on with its Dedicto, a Frase album, to the next round. And the Karfagen Lost Symphony album we'll have to try again sometime. And yeah, both pretty solid. Anyways, we will drop this video in tomorrow morning, provided I can figure out how to do that on this new computer. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but it could be. And we will see you then, or we'll see you on day 6 with another one. So take care, and we will see you soon.